Hello guys, welcome to another session. In this session, we are going to look into form handling in React. So let's start our discussion. So far, whatever we have seen that is mainly related to displaying the content on the page. In this session, we will look into how to capture the input from users. So in this aspect, we will look into how to capture input in text field within the form in React. But prior to that, let's understand about some of the basic to handle form in React. So let's jump into the diagram. Consider we are having an input element to capture the fruit name. This input element can have the value. The user input can change based on user interaction. Over here, suppose that if any user is coming and providing the fruit name, then the value of the input field gets changed. So how we can deal with the value which is being changed within the React component? That is through state and set state. So in a control component, the value of the input field is being set to the state properties. Next, we have an onChange event that is being fired whenever text field value is getting changed. And we have onChange handler where we are setting the state object properties with the help of set state. And when the state gets updated, the render method gets called and the new state is assigned as a value to the input element. And this diagram is the representation of the all cycle, whatever I have explained now. So let's understand with an example in Visual Studio Code. So as usual, we are going to create a folder called form, and within that we are going to create a file called form.js. So let's create it form.js, and then we will generate the boilerplate code with the RCE snippet. This will give us the class component, and over here we will write the JSX for form elements. We are going to create the form for fruit ball. So let's write it fruit ball, save it, and let's add into app.js so that we will look into whether it is working or not. So here we need to specify form, add it. Let's comment this one as this is not required. Save it. Let's look into the output, what output we are getting. So we have successfully added the form component over here. Now we will enhance this. So let's jump into the Visual Studio Code. Let's put this inside the h1 tag so that it would be little bigger. So over here we need to specify h1. Save it. Let's look into the output. This looks much better. So let's write the input element over there. So to write the input element within the form, first we need to include the form tag, and within that we are going to keep a div, and within the div we are going to keep a label. So let's keep label, and that is for root name, and the input field which will be used to grab the input from the user. So it is going to be input, and over here we need to specify type. Type is going to be the text. Save it. Let's look into the output, how the output is coming. So we got this output. So right now this form is HTML form. To make it React controlled component, we need to perform two things on this form. The first step is to introduce the state object within the form component. This state object control the value of the form component. So let's do it first. So to introduce it, we need to introduce the constructor over here. Let's generate the constructor code with the help of snippet rconst. So it will give us the snippet for constructor, and within that we are going to introduce a property called fruit name, and which is blank initially. Save it. Next I am going to assign the value of the input field to this state. So I need to write something like this, value equal to, and within the curly braces we need to specify this dot state dot fruit name. But you know what, this will not work. If you look into the output, and over here if you try to write something, it will not take any input. So to make it working, we need to handle the onChange event. So let's do it. So let's handle the onChange event over here. So we need to specify onChange, and within that we are going to create an onChange handler. So let's specify this dot, this I am going to create on change handler, and over here we need to tell capital C. Now next I need to create this onChange handler, and that is going to be an arrow function. So we will tell that onChange handler over here, and this will accept the event. So we need to specify the event over here, and this event contains the target value, that is our input text. So here we need to tell that this dot set state, and this will set the fruit name to the value of the text box. So I need to specify event dot target dot value. Save it. So what this will do, it will assign the value, whichever value we are going to type within the input box, that will be assigned to this particular state object properties, that is fruit name. So let's look into that. So now you will find that when I type something like apple, so it is accepting the input, whatever the input which we are passing over here. Earlier we were not handling the on change event, that's the reason it was not accepting the input keys. So let's proceed further. So handling the change is the second step by which we can make a normal HTML form into a controlled component of React. So to make the normal HTML form to a controlled component, what we did, we have first introduced the state into the component, and then we have introduced the onChange handler for setting up the state properties from the input values which is provided by user. We are handling through onChange event, and we have written a onChange handler where we are setting the state object property, that is fruit name. So let's now introduce another input type that is also a text field that will be used to capture the price of the fruit. So to capture the input for price, we need to copy this one, and we will change from fruit name to price, and over here we will specify the price over here, which we are going to put it into the properties of a state. So let me put it over here. We will tell that price, and that should be blank for now, and then we need to define the change handler for price. So let me write on price change handler. So we are going to define this. So let me define over here. So we are going to do the same activities for the price. So let me copy paste it so that we will save the time, and over here we will specify on price change handler, and that will set the properties of state, that is price over here. Save it. So now we have introduce another text field that will capture the price of the fruit. So let's look into the output. The form looks pretty much ugly. We will redesign it in our next session. We will make it full-blown project. For a time being, I just wanted to introduce the concept of form, how to handle form within React. That's the reason I am not focusing upon the beautification of this form. So for a time being, we will consider this ugly form. So let's write something. So it is working now. And over here, let's look into the price field. So we will specify something. So it is taking the input. That means whatever the input which we are providing over here, it is going to set within the state of this particular component. And this we are handling through the onChange event. Better to write grapes over here. So now next we will handle the submission of this form. So let's introduce a button and handle the submit event. So let's introduce the submit button over here. For introducing submit button, we need to write button, and over here we need to specify the type of the button is going to be the submit, and here we need to specify submit, make the button label. Save it. Let's look into the output. Then we will find that we have successfully introduced a button over here. If you click over here, then you will find that the page gets refreshed. So that means this is a default HTML submit button. So to make it application specific, we need to handle the submit event. So let's do it. To handle the submit event of the form, we need to handle on submit, and over here we need to specify that within the curly braces this dot handle submit. This is the handler we need to write, and this is going to be an arrow function again. So we need to tell that handle submit, and over here we need to grab the input which is being entered within the text field of fruit name and price, and that we will alert it into the dialog box. For a time being, we are alerting those things into an alert. In the later part of the course, we will design something meaningful where we are entering the fruit name and price within the text box, and when it is being submitted, it is get inserted into a table on the web page with all the styling applied. So let's do it. So here we need to specify the event, and then we will alert the fruit name and the price. So to do that, we need to write alert, and over here we will use the template string, and here we will specify within the curly braces. Here we need to specify the dollar and then the curly braces, and over here we need to specify this dot state dot fruit name. And over here we need to specify comma, and we will tell that fruit name is this one and price is dollar curly braces this dot state dot price. Save it. Let's look into the output. So let's specify some fruit name over here, apple, and the price is 100 rupees. Click on submit. then you will find that we are capturing the input within the state, and that is being displayed on this alert box. So if you click on OK, then you will find that it's gone. So this is the default behavior. So how we can make sure that the value, whatever value which we have written, that will not go away. So to handle the default behavior, we need to grab the event object and we need to access the prevent default method. We need to access this, and this will prevent the default behavior and we will not lose the data after submitting it. So let's look into the output. So here this time I will provide oranges, and over here we will tell that 200. Let's submit it. Okay, then you will find that we are not losing the value which we have entered into the form. So this way we can prevent the default behavior. So let's proceed further. One thing you notice over here that we are having multiple change handler for each of the field, and it is very much cumbersome and it is very much complicated whenever if our size of the form is getting increased with multiple input elements. Then that means we need to handle each of the element with different change handler, and this is quite problematic. So how we can design a single change handler that will work for each of the input element? So let's look into that, how we can achieve this thing. So let me get rid of this one. So let's comment it out. So we are not having other change handler apart from the change handler. So the first step, we need to introduce the name of input element. So I'm going to specify name, and make sure that whatever the name which you are going to provide over here, that is matching with your state properties. So for fruit name, I am going to specify the name of the input field is fruit name. Same is the case with price, and over here we need to specify the name of the input field is price. Now the next step, make sure that you are assigning the same change handler. Now the next step, we should make sure that the event where we are grabbing the value, same way we will grab the name, but this time this is going to be the dynamic. So how we will provide that? We need to specify the square bracket so that we will access the dynamic value, which is a state object property. And what is the name of that? So how we can grab it? We will tell that event dot target dot name, and this name is similar to the name of the state. So that means we are telling that this fruit name, if it is a fruit name, then it will take the fruit name over here. That means this property get accessed. If it is a price, then this property get accessed. So that means with a single change handler, we are able to handle all the input fields. So now let's look into that, whether it is working or not. So let's save it, and over here let's try to write something, and you will find that there is no changes. It is working perfectly fine. Banana. And for price, we have removed this one. We have, if you remember that, we have already removed this on price change handler. We have applied the on change handler. Same way we will specify over here 200. Let's submit it, and you will find that it is working perfectly fine. So this way you can handle the multiple field on change event with a single on change handler. So this is what I wanted to demonstrate you in this session. I hope you enjoyed the session. See you in the next session. Till then, bye bye, take care.